together before we get on the mats. Thank you so much for being here. So delightful to spend a Saturday with you, sharing the advanced training. I'm really excited about this material, even though it's part of the AYP program for a while. I keep adding more things in. I think you guys will really enjoy the newness. So even if you've been watching videos or practicing for a while, it's nice that there will be things you haven't seen before, right? Taking it to another level. And I think your students will really like it too. So for those that are teaching, it's nice to have always come back with something fresh. I usually like to start just by making sure everyone is good. If you need anything, bathroom break, sip of water, anything like that, always take care of yourself. That's fully welcomed. But is there any injuries or anything I need to know about physically, mentally, emotionally that we can support?
I'm just super tight in my glute to here, and it's easing out, but my flexibility just in this leg a little bit.
Okay, good. Well, we'll keep an eye on that for sure. Does anybody have any limitations that they think I should know about shoulder, elbow?
Elbow. I can't do a full flexion on my knee.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Well,
We will make adjustments, thank you, and I'll probably tell by your facial expression, but remind me if it's like, no, the body doesn't want to do that, because we're going to do lots and lots of variations, because when we get into advanced practices, the first thing that we want to do is accommodate everyone, because like there's like beginner advanced and there's advanced, like give the full spectrum and range. So we want to be really aware of that. So I'm going to give lots of options, and feel free to take care of yourself, because we have 8 hours today. We do have a break, but it's still 8 hours, and then we have 6 hours tomorrow for those that are sticking around. So we have tons and tons and tons of material, so really take it easy, take notes. We are going to have discussion, but I love my chatty friends, but let's save it until we have little breaks, right? Because we want to get through a flow. And if you can remember, I understand if there's like some burning question and it's like, we got to address it now, that's fine, but just kind of bookmark it in like a mental bookmark, and we will leave time for discussion pretty much after each sequence. We'll go over things again. We're going to have this evening from 6 to 8 when we come back from a nice long break to do new sequencing, more new sequencing. We're going to do the extended Black Swan sequence and review. So there will be time to review, which is really nice. We have a special request from Amy to hold a open class, general class, A class from 3 to 4, which was already on the schedule. So we're going to have you guys assist. You can write, you can watch, you can sit, you can practice partnering up and doing some hands-on. But just know that we will be going from 12 until about 2:45, pretty straight through, and then a 15-minute break, just a short break, before the class, getting ready for the class. But from 3 to 4, you probably won't be in a swing, which is kind of nice. I mean, to take a little break. And then 4 to 6, dinner break or sun break or whatever you want to do. And then 6 to 8, we want to keep our energy up, because 6 to 8 is going to be probably the most advanced. So kind of just save a little, keep that in mind, like don't go eat a burrito. Eat, but not like something so heavy that you come back and lay on the floor. Or you do, but just kind of giving you a heads up. Okay, so that's our schedule for today. All right, I need to adjust this just a little bit. So, yeah, go ahead.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So I don't have any ailments that are going to prevent me from doing anything, but I have some that are just annoying that I would love to know how to address.
Adjustments?
I've been sitting too much, and I got
Yes.
some kind of knot here. So if there's anything specific
good.
in those targeted areas,
Yes.
I'd love to know and point that out
Fantastic.
to how I can fix that. Am I
Okay.
or for someone else who
Yes.
is a client or
Thank
whatever.
you. Yeah, for
that-
mentioning it.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, Petra brings up a good point. We are going to blend in more RX therapeutics than I would normally do in an AYP training, because you guys have been blending the two with me in terms of taking the trainings. So things like that is what we address in the RX program. Mostly today, it's always like a combination, but mostly today we're working upper body and arms, and mostly tomorrow we're going to be doing lower body and legs. So those are things that we will get into. I think we're all sitting and driving too much. I know I am, so I'm like, yeah, that like butt hamstring connection, and like, that area that gets kind of saggy with age. I've noticed. I was like, I've never had that before. That's neat. So yeah, so we're gonna do a lot of stuff to activate that intersection. But please do ask, and like I said, if it isn't during the sequence, then after the sequence we can go back and review and repeat things. We have plenty of time to get through this. It is gonna be at a really good pace, because the thing with advances, it's a lot of strengthening, right? So we're gonna do a lot more strengthening, a lot more balance, a lot more flexibility, but feel free to skip things. You know, like I said, if it becomes like too much in one sequence, we're gonna revisit it several times during our stay this weekend. Okay, so if you're not familiar with the sequences, like I know that you're newish, you've been doing stuff, don't worry about it, it's all recorded, it's all gonna be written as well. So there is, the e-manual was sent to all you guys if you don't already have it, so you guys get both manuals. If anybody really wants physical manuals, I brought extra and we can go over those, especially on your break. Even though we want you guys to have some time to rejuvenate, we also want to use it as like a long study break. It's really helpful, keep the energy concentrated. But we're gonna start with the swing in front of us and come into our forward fold, which is number 2 in the yoga translations, but it's number 9 in the advanced. So we're adding on to something that's familiar, which is really nice. So this is our warm-up lap. And of course we need to test the swings and make sure they're in a good position for us. So we push the swing down, standing in the center of the mat. Make sure it's centered. It's kind of going to be, it'll be more annoying for me than anything, but my neuroses. But if we keep the alignment, and if you use the black mats, just stand in the center of the black mat, it doesn't matter. But it's nice to have the mandala mats for the inspiration. Then we're going to lean forward, and we're going to practice this move here. Again, just reviewing, leaning forward and back, where the crown of the head points towards the sky. Okay, so I use different cues each time to see, can we keep the crown of the head pointed towards the sky? Not by kinking the back of the neck, right? Keep the back of the neck long, yes, and push with the hips. Right, so there's this tendency to head dive. So again, pay attention to your gaze and find your drishti. Your drishti is straight ahead and slightly up, like the top corner of the room might be a good idea, right? Or it's just straight ahead. But looking down is like a tendency where our weight drops to where our gaze goes. So we're practicing that lift, that upliftment. And then we're gonna press the hips all the way forward and come on down. So you can come down nice and easy and slow. Now the mats tend to be a little slippery. And if you guys wanna try it, you can actually come up and turn your mats over, okay? So the black people, you're already there, but the black mat people. But if you wanna try just turning it over and trying the other side so you get the grip. See if you like it better, because otherwise we can spray the mats. But we're gonna be in forward folds and meeting grip for basically the entire day. So just try it. If it's still slippery, then we can always put another black mat underneath it. But see how that feels. So if you have the mandala mats at home, just flip them over, and then you have plenty of grip. How does that feel? Good. Yeah, so center the mat, feet in the center of the mat, yeah, and then hands all the way forward. There you go. Cool. Drop the head, drop the thoughts, just shake it out. So we're gonna come into clasping the elbows, really gentle forward fold. So we're up on our toes, the heels don't touch in our version. Feet in the center of the mat. Tirza, are you sliding back? Yeah. Oh, so yeah, let's actually spray your mat for you then, for anybody who's still slipping, because you can actually get grip by spraying it.
I like that rainbow, is that okay?
Yeah, of course. You just have to really engage through your feet. And this is something that is good for practicing, right? But always you can just double it up or turn it over. I like the arrows in front so you can kind of follow the 2 points. Yeah. So 10 and 2, we follow these points all the way out. So get it centered. Little technical equipment planned out here. But yeah. And we'll just keep the spray bottles out today for those that have the mandala mats, so you have as much grip as you need. I know, that was the circus act, but now you know. Do you want to spray? Yes, please. Yeah, and you'll just notice now that if it is moist, California nut is not as moist as Hawaii, so I usually do a lot of spraying. Let's go. Do you want to spray again?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay, great. So we'll just do that there. Can you notice the difference? Feet in the center of the mat, wherever you are. Okay. And then cross the elbows, hang. Hip distance, lifting the sit bones towards the sky. A lot. Even though you're up onto the toes, you're grounding through the back of the heels, so you have long lines of energy through the back legs. And then we're gonna stretch it out, right? We come into our version of down dog. So I like to do happy dog first, feet in the center of the mat the whole time, because we're gonna have tension on the swing. So with tension on the swing, good, feet in the center of the mat. Hip distance, yeah. And then you let your body really just hang forward, that's it, like that. Yeah, so really stretch out as far forward as you possibly can, so that, yes, feet stay in the center of the mat. Petra, you wanna come forward a little bit more? Toes, yeah, you can hop up onto your neighbor's mat if you need to. There you go, awesome. So now we undulate the spine, and even here, without making a big movement, think of a cat-cow while you're in a down dog, right? So the cat-cow is undulating the spine, curling in, and then inhaling, lifting, right? Yeah, so then add like a little bit of a rhythm wave to it, where you're pulling forward and then pressing back. So you're marrying those two movements. So I call it the cat's meow, where like the down dog and the cat-cow got together. And the little baby. All right, walk your hands forward all the way. Yeah, there you go, stretch it out. So you're in a big V shape, that's beautiful. Yeah, if your swing's really high, you'll probably find that to be a little bit more challenging. You can always bring it down and play with that. Walk the feet back with the hands forward. Carolyn, just a little bit further back with your feet. Even more? Yes, there you go. Now you're in a big V. Beautiful. Inhale, let's lift the leg. Let's start with the right leg up. Arch and open. Exhale, pull knee to nose. Just reviewing all that we did in number 2. Inhale, lift. Let that feel good. Exhale, knee to nose. Arriving with the breath. Inhale, lift and open. Exhale, squeeze. Beautiful. Inhale, lift. Let's stay here and pulse. So we stay arch, so you're looking up with your heart. See if you can really pull your shoulder blades down the back, and then we're pulsing. So lift, lift, lift. That little spot, that is where the hamstring inserts into the sit bone. We're really isolating that part there. Beautiful, guys. Pull knee to nose, really counterbalance, pulling in, pulling in, pulling in. This time we're gonna lift and hook outside in. So I bring the leg all the way out to the side, and just notice, even in this movement, straight leg all the way out to the side, and just notice what that activates. Once the leg's all the way out, then you bend the knee, and it's easy to hook outside in. So when I teach it like that, I tend to notice that watch out for one another there. I tend to notice that my students get the hook better. Otherwise, they're going to do inside out. Now you can press your back heel down, stretch it out, right? So big openness through the heart, pressing your chest towards the floor. And now you can inhale, lift, look up. Just a few breaths there to undulate. Exhale, round in. Inhale, lift. Just spending a longer time in some of these poses. We'll do the more advanced version with the breath, guys. All right, now we're gonna lift and straighten that leg towards the sky for standing splits. It's really important to hop your foot to the center of the mat for this, or else you're not gonna have the right pivot point. So you really, yeah, there you go, guys. Straighten that top leg as much as possible, and then hang. So you're gonna bend your elbows and get a really deep stretch. So it actually seems like if you straighten your arms, that it'll be less intense, but it's actually more comfortable in the body to fully relax the arms so the elbows are dangling down. We're still on the ball of the foot. You're still pushing your hips forward so they're over the front of the mat. Does that make sense? So you're up under the ball of the foot and pushing your hips forward. Shoshana? Yeah. So lift your back heel. Push your hips forward towards the front. Yes, like that. And then bend your elbows and hang. Yeah. There you go. A little bit more intense, huh?
Both legs are activated?
Both legs straight, yes. Both legs straight. I usually keep the top foot flexed, and that really adds a nice hook. So we're gonna just open it up to the side. So start walking your hands over to the right. And then you'll notice that your toes will turn to the right. The other right, sorry. Your left. Keep going, keep going. And then we're in half moon. Just notice if you need to place your foot in the center of the mat again to get it right underneath the hip. Pop that foot over. There you go, perfect. Long lines of energy, open it up. Walk it, both hands back down to the ground, walk it to the front of the mat, just bring your toes with you. So turn your toes forward, beautiful. Bend the knee, let the foot slide down to the floor, happy dog, shake it out. We're gonna revisit and add on to those poses a few times. Second side, so really stretch it out, right? So we're in our down dog, and then we're gonna come through our cat's meow with the leg lift. Left leg up, arch. Exhale, pull knee to nose. Use the breath, inhale. Exhale, squeeze. Undulate the swing, so there's a rhythm wave. The swing pulls forward when we arch, and then you swing back. Yeah, and pull in. That's it. Inhale, lift. Exhale, squeeze. Beautiful, ladies. All right, we're gonna stay lifted, arch and pulse. Arch, look up, pulse, pulse, pulse. Look up if you can with your heart. There you go. So you're pulling with your fingertips strongly. Lift, 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 lift. Squeeze that spot, that intersection there. It gets a little sleepy. That's beautiful, guys. Okay, leg out to the side, all the way out, and come on back. So if you wanted to, again, add a little bit more strengthening, you bring the leg all the way out to the side and back. Everyone's still looking up? There you go. And then once it's out to the side, bend the knee and you can hook. There you go, outside in, beautiful. You kick the leg loop out of the way if you need. First, the knee is bent. Don't rush it into standing splits. We have a bent knee, one-legged dog, where we ground the heel and create some openness first before we do the extension. So I like to do a few undulations where I just inhale and lift and arch. Exhale, press my heel back down. Squeeze the belly towards the sky. Inhale, lift. The hamstrings get extremely tight on people. You're going to feel this deep into the calf. So Amy, you're nice and long. Stretch your arms all the way forward. Yeah, so your hips are draped over the front of the mat. Inhale, lift. That's it. Exhale. Press the heel down when you're round in. Okay, now inhale, lift, and once you're lifted, you can straighten the top leg towards the sky. Standing splits. Make sure you hop your foot forward so that it is grounded. You will fly away otherwise. And then drop your elbows. So stand onto the ball of the foot here so your hips are draped over the front of the mat. So Amy, yeah, there you go. And then all the weight is in the swing, so it's not flat like this. Yeah, so you're dropping while you, that's it. And then you can bend your elbows and hang. This is a bit of a deeper stretch. All the different variations are A-okay. So can that top leg straighten a little bit more, Shoshana? Yeah, and then push your hips forward, come up onto the ball of the foot, bend the elbows and hang into it. There you go, that's the tight spot. Right, we found it. Okay, inhale, lift. Let's walk our hands over to the right. Let your toes turn with you. If you don't turn your toes, then it's not great for the knee. So keep turning the toes to the right at the same time. Maybe lifting the top arm, half moon variation. And then both hands back down to the ground. And if this goes well, then we can add on to that sequence. So pay attention when you're teaching a class that might be as far as somebody's going to go. Then you're going to bend the top leg with the foot on the floor. Keep back to the center of the mat, happy dog, shake it out. Let's have a reset before we continue on here. Take the legs and pulse a little bit. Bounce, 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 bounce. Let that feel good. And then we're going to come forward. Now we're going to come through a plank. So I like to have my hands about 6 inches above my mat. Now if you do that, it's really hard. Otherwise, let your hands be on your mat for the easier version. Again, just doing different variations. So 6 inches, pulling my fingertips like little suction cups really strongly. And then we're just going to bicycle. Bicycle, pull forward, pull forward. Yep. Let it color neighbors. There you go. And then once we're there, we're gonna just drop down like we're doing tiny little chaturangas. They're gonna be very easy at first, but mini push-ups, right? Elbows are in towards the sides for chaturangas, as opposed to flaring out. Feet are hip distance, so level with the earth. Yeah, unless your buddies are there nibbling on your toes. Now we're gonna hook our feet outside in, both bum, for an up dog. Hands are closer to the front of the mat. So, to the front of the mat. Come forward, yeah, good. All right, so then we can press back for an upside down dog. This is when we add more advanced stuff than just the beginner class we learned before. Inhale, pull forward for up dog. Arch it open, stretch the belly, lift through the heart. Exhale, press back, upside down dog. Good. Inhale, lift and pull forward. Let's try some push-ups here. So now the elbows can flare a little bit more out to the side. So we don't head dive, we're gonna heart dive in all these poses. And just see what that looks like for you, keeping the back of the neck long. So we don't wanna kink the neck. Beautiful. And then we are going to tuck for a handstand. So arms are straight, hands are shoulder distance. Hook your toes, pull up through your core, stack your hips over your shoulders, and then press back to an upside down dog. So we're gonna go through a few rounds of that. Inhale, forward, up dog. Exhale, tuck. Hold it. And then inhale, come on back down. Exhale, press back. Inhale, pull forward. Exhale, tuck. Really engage through the psoas. Inhale, relax, back through neutral, and then press back, upside down dog. That's it. Really strong on the arms. Inhale, pull forward. Last one. We're practicing handstands, right? So we're holding all of the weight in our arms, and we don't have to fall over 100 times. We're just finding our balance, stacking the bones, and come on back to neutral. Really good. So normally we would just come down here and come into a headstand for a more beginner class. So I want you to just take a little rest, whatever that looks like, just resting the crown of the head or the forehead down to the ground. Spine to breath. And then we're gonna come up and add on to our sequence. Just give yourselves a few more moments here. So in this version, we pull our heels towards our bum so they're tight. So they're still on the leg loops. The heels are just tight towards the bum. So they're not up so high on the swing. There you go. Thank you, Caroline. Yeah, so that's an important cue in terms of people floating away. Because if we pull the knees down towards the earth, we have our hook. Come on back onto your hands when you're ready. That's how I know you're ready. We're gonna keep the right foot hooked, left foot finds the ground. Straighten the top leg towards the sky. I'm gonna hop my foot so it's a little bit in front of the center of the mat. So that way I can have some good grip. Standing splits with a twist. So I'm gonna ground through the left hand, right arm reaches up towards the sky. Okay, now we're gonna float. So we're gonna reach back behind our bum towards our sacrum and grab for the swing as high as you can. Now we're gonna turn our toes out to the left and we're just gonna float out. Whee! Try it. So let's do that one more time. Come on back to the front of the mat. You're just gonna pick up your hand and turn your toes and just see if you can float. Have some fun with it. There you go. Reach up as high as you can here. Beautiful. Let the head drop. We're gonna do a really long extended black swan sequence, but we wanted to just come back in and feel this amazing stretch. Right? So again, how can we turn something advanced into therapeutics? We can just hang out here using the weight of the head to stretch the neck and the shoulders. Roll the shoulders back so we open up the chest, belly is towards the front of the room. All right. Let's go ahead and slowly come down, unwind, unfurl, and then we're gonna come back, both feet to the ground for plank pose, floating plank. Let's do a little bonus round. So let's come into a side plank. Let's go ahead and plant left hand down, left foot down, and roll your belly to the side wall. We can bring the foot and the hand towards the sky. Now, there is a version of Vajrasana we can do here. If you want to just come back to plank and watch for 1 second, you can come up and watch. So it's a little tricky, so what I need to do is roll my belly towards the sky and lift my leg all the way. Then I can reach for my toes. Once I reach for my toes, I can slide, so I'm taking on the shape of the mat, right? So my hips are directly over the center, and then open up the chest towards the sky. It's really hard, so just letting you know, maybe that ain't happening today. But let me use Holly as an example. Do you mind? Sure. Roll your belly all the way towards the sky so that the swing comes to the waist. A little bit higher. Okay, you get your butt. Yeah, the other way. Towards your waist. Yep. Yeah. Just drop your hips and it'll happen. Yes! Now your foot is, now you can reach for your toes. Yeah. Okay. And then grab it to the back. Yeah, beautiful. So this has to be higher up on the waist. Yes, that little shift. You guys see what I'm doing there? Very challenging. Everybody try it, or at least the version that they want to. Yeah, it's like, and then my leg, I'm like, well, the stretch is a whole nother deal. Flexibility is a whole nother level. Well, let's try it one more time together. Let's come back through floating plank. Okay, let's do left side and then we'll come back and do right side. So plant the left hand down, right arm towards the sky. So right now my belly is towards the side wall. And then reach back with your right hand, grab for the swing, and then pull so that you shimmy so that your belly is now facing the ceiling. All the way. So your belly has to face the ceiling before you get that leg up. Amy? Yes, that move, that shimmy. Now you can reach for the toes if possible. Yeah, ground the back foot. Ground the back foot. You got it. We just have to get you to shimmy a little bit more so this comes up to the waist. Belly faces the sky, all the way. Yes. There you go. And just let your foot, yeah, be there. So yeah, use the swing for the foot. Yeah. So put your foot on the other side, Petra. That's great, but it's going to go on this side. Yes. That's the shape. Right? Yes. Yeah, I guess. Yeah. So like somebody hold my head. Obviously, that would be the advanced part. Everything else we can do in our workshop, our class today, right, with newbies. But we're going to skip that. That was just for fun. But we have two legs, so let's go ahead and finish up this sequence. Coming back through the forward fold. Shake it out. Happy dog, keep the center of the mat. Left leg lifts and hooks. Awesome. So I was going to show you that just from standing splits, you could actually shimmy all the way over into Vajrasana, but since that is a little bit more complicated, we'll just break it down pose by pose. But if we were going to do the sequence like a dance, I'd go right from standing splits. Let's just stay here, bend the elbows and hang. Oh, shake it out, shake it out. If anybody wants to try balancing, you can bring the arms out to the sides. You can also clasp them behind the back. And just position your foot. You can hop around a little bit until you find your pivot point. Again, to make a sequence more advanced, we just do some variations. Yeah. Try one arm. Do both arms. Lots of playtime. All right. Plant the right hand down out in front of you. Left arm towards the sky. See if you can reach back behind your sacrum for the swing. Yeah. And then just turn the toes out to the right. Whee! See if you can float it. Yeah, it's okay to hop. You know, like take the hand and kind of whip, just navigate over. But you can actually skip the hand and just use the momentum that you have turning out, that's it. And then once we're here, make sure your ankle is stacked with your hip, right? So you might need to hop your foot over to the right a little bit more. And then we're gonna hang. This is our therapeutic version, where we let the weight of the head give a nice stretch all the way into the shoulder. Long lines of energy. Beautiful, guys. Woo! Come on back to center. Just turn your toes to the front. Release that foot. Let's just pedal it out a little bit. Give the legs a little bit of a break. So I call this swimming. This is not exactly how I swim. But we're stacking the wrists and the shoulders. So pull forward and get that nice, like we're in a plank, right? Then you can plant the right foot down, right hand down, shimmy. So you have to kind of let the swing slide so you can lift the leg. And then if you want to do the Vajrasana with the toe grab, roll your belly towards the sky. Then you can reach for the toes. And, you know, the stretch is a whole nother gig. So if it's just the flexibility, that's one thing. But you have to get the swing around the waist in order to get the lift. Otherwise, you can just let the foot touch the swing and open up like that. Yeah, so the foot touches the other side, Shoshana. Ooh, yeah, the other side. There you go. So it's straight up out of the hip joint. Yeah. Beautiful. Come on down. So yeah, that's what I was doing for 3 hours last night. Because that's going to be in our Black Swan sequence, but I was like, let me show people how to just come into that without this other big flip that you guys have so much to look forward to. Walk it forward, walk it forward. Let's just talk about that. Take a little pause, take a little break. Let's look at our outlines and have them close by so we can go over what. Okay, here you go. I did print extras.
I would love one too if you have them.
Well, do you have your outline?
I have.
Because we're going to write in them. Do you have the outline?
I think I have the original one, but can I
Yeah.
double check?
Well, I don't have 6, so I was like, at least one person will bring their outline. Yeah. We're going to write everything down anyhow, so yeah, that's the outline. Oh, good, you took lots of notes.
But I didn't think I had that page, because I was just doing the homework that I had to see. I didn't print it out because,
So, yeah, we'll use this for now, and then I'm going to let her use this, and then you guys will share. Okay, because it's in the book, too.
You know, if it's in the book, I can give you mine.
I read it just
Okay.
well, you can just cut, right here, good job. So it's in our Eric's manual. It's on page 16.
Everybody has it. I just printed it separately so that it would be a little bit easier to read. But the part that we are going to be adding on to, we'll just pencil it in as we go along. Does anybody want to go over one of those poses again? I know we're going to have a little chat about it, but it's all pretty straightforward, right? Because it is a review of Yoga Translations number 2. Right? We just added on upside down dog, which not everybody is going to be ready for. We added on the standing splits, then we added on the half moon, and then we went into a side plank and Vajrasana as the bonus.
I have a question about when you're going into that last add-on we did, the Vajrasana. It seems like it would be easier for me if the swing were higher. Should I start out low?
You can experiment at home and then report back that it's not. Okay. It'll be much harder if the swing is higher.
Okay.
Yeah. In my personal opinion. But again, it is really like, just like food. Oh, I like it a little bit more spicy. So higher is not easier in these poses for sure. They're actually much harder to ground. That's just my opinion. But it has been a bit of a consensus. And if I bring the swing down, people have an easier time with these poses, for sure.
What would you do in a situation where you're teaching a class and you have some advanced students and like some people, like for example, that grab your toe thing in the plank, side plank, I've never been able to do that in 25 years of yoga. And I just, my body doesn't do it, but somebody else might be really into it. So you just sort of off and on, or you go over and swap them, or what do you do?
Well, I just did 3 levels.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
then
if
like.
you're a teacher and they're following you, and you're like, I'm not going to do this because.
Well, yeah, so you just stay, just like I invited you guys to stay at the level that's comfortable.
Okay.
So come into plank, that goes well. Okay, side plank. Okay, lift the leg, lift the arm. And then 2 people maybe will grab for the toe. I mean, it's the same as in a yoga
You
class.
just put them in the right position of alignment and let them.
Yeah, so just stay in whichever variation is where your body, and if one of the things that I noticed is that you guys lost alignment to try to get the pose, and that for me isn't the benefit of the swing. Like, I don't care if you grab your toes or not, but keeping the hips stacked so that your foot is in alignment, your belly rolled towards the sky, it doesn't matter how high your leg is, right?
And the alignment is 90 degrees, no, because you're on the side.
So it's just like this instead of like this. You guys were all, I'll just go over it with the other leg. So you guys were all doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of rolling the belly towards the sky, so the foot and the hip were in a straight line. And then, that's why I was saying put your foot on the other side of the swing, so at least you have the alignment. And then, you know, in time, you can like wiggle up and be like, oh, look, I can grab my calf.
Oh, yeah, that's it, I see.
Yeah, so I came over and put your leg on this side, so that's aligned. And you don't have to reach for your toes, that's just extra and cute.
And you can
but-
also put that foot on the floor, like how sometimes with that pose, yeah, there you go.
All the variations. It's very intuitive, right? Yeah, anything you can do in yoga, you can do in the swing. It's just fun to see the variations. And again, we're all like focusing on the last pose, which is a bonus, and I wouldn't even do in a regular class. It's just for those 1 or 2 advanced students that are like, because we're gonna do wheel and then like half wheel and all kinds of cool things today. And most people can't do a wheel, right? Just to see where this is going. You know, wheel is like this, right?
Yeah.
Half wheel. So we're gonna do all this today.
Yeah.
So Vajrasana is like a preparation for getting your leg up. So this is, we just wanna stretch. So we could come into half wheel
So excited.
or on a wheel or something. Yeah, so that's the fun part, right? But like the last pose is not the most important pose. The sequence, getting into standing splits, upside down dog, up dog, tuck to come into handstand. That's like, I want 90% of the focus in terms of what you're gonna share. Like you mentioned, in a regular yoga class, only a couple people can grab for their toes. So it's fun. I don't, even though I can grab for my toe, it doesn't feel amazing. It feels like I haven't been doing regular yoga in a while because I was like, oh, I used to be really flexible. Now, I don't care as much about like overextending because I was pulling all the attachments and yeah, so I just don't do it like that anymore, but it is fun, it looks pretty. So I'm gonna index the video so we have some really clean starts and stops. So just take a second, so feel free to have a sip of water or